Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, investigative journalist Mark Bassant and Junior Minister of Housing Phillip remain at odds over allegations of a $3.4 billion bribe. Bassant claims he was approached by an individual offering compensation to kill a story on HDC contract collusion. A narrative Alexander has repeatedly dismissed as a fabrication intended to destabilize the government. Crucially, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, TTPS, has not issued any public statement confirming that Bassant provided them with evidence, nor have they officially announced the launch of a criminal investigation into the reported bribe. Why? And yet, sadly, the UNC administration continues to support Guevara and the TTPS. I've always told people the TTPS is PNM. Don't get tied up. Alexander has publicly criticized Bassant's handling of the situation, arguing that if the journalist's claims were genuine, a sting operation could have been coordinated with law enforcement to catch the individual in the act. He noted that Bassant's failure to facilitate such an operation undermines the credibility of the allegations. This dispute follows a pattern of past claims by Bassant in 2014 and 2017 involving similar threats and bribery, none of which resulted in public records of arrest or successful prosecutions for those specific acts. It begs the question, what really going on? Mark Bassant defended his decision not to conduct a sting operation regarding alleged bribes by prioritizing his safety and immediate reporting over acting as a law enforcement agent. Phillip Alexander criticized this, arguing that failure to coordinate with police undermined the credibility of the bribery allegations. Phillip is, of course, 100% correct. My response. In other words, journalists, not just Mark Bassant, journalists just love to be authors of confusion. No evidence is provided in order for an investigation to be conducted, but the allegations will damage the image of the Kamala Prasad administration. Mission accomplished by the mainstream Kakash media. And Kakash media isn't just CNC3, people. Kakash media is the entire mainstream media in Trinidad and Tobago who leans on the PNM socialist, autocratic, jihadist side. You can fool the tribal PNM patriots with that "I'm just doing my job" nonsense. But the rest of us see the deception. No matter, listen to this, people, no matter which public figure is targeted, whether from the UNC or PNM, journalists shouldn't be able to make allegations against them or a political party without providing evidence to verify his or her claims. It's not just about the UNC. I'm not just defending UNC. It's about principle. You are supposed to be a journalist, and therefore you're supposed to be reporting facts. People are supposed to be relying on you for truth. And yet all you're doing is coming out and making very, very outrageous claims without providing evidence. And because you're a journalist, people are going to believe the rumors, even though you're not providing evidence. That is nonsense. If Bassant genuinely didn't want to compromise the so-called investigation, then he should have refrained from placing any type of information in the public domain. Doesn't that make sense? Because if it is, a serious crime like that being committed, right? And an investigation has already begun because you went and make a report. Why would you end up revealing it so that the person can end up trying to cover up their act, cover up the evidence, trying to flee the country and all kind of things like that? Why you will do that? I want to say, why don't you call names, buddy? That's what I'm telling you, the PNM patriots only become ignorant and naive when it has nothing to do with their political party, Why not call it names Bassant? Huh? Why? Is it because the person might end up winning a defamation case in court? Probably, yeah. Maybe that's why you are not calling any names. Because there's no reason whatsoever. You already released this type of information into the public domain. And yet you are keeping the identity of this individual secret. That making any kind of sense? That sounds just like the politicians. When they make claims against each other and yet they don't call names. A 25-year-old Mayaro man was robbed of electronics, jewelry, and cash on Monday morning after traveling to Lavantil to finalize a Facebook marketplace transaction. Who the heck goes to Lavantil? to sell any item. What were you thinking? You had to be a P&M patriot to believe that Laventille is really a place of love. A place of love. Yeah. Wow. Love and peace. Upon arriving at Pleasant Terrace around 11:45 a.m., the victim was confronted by 3 armed men who stole 8 movie projectors, an iPhone, and several gold chains valued at thousands of dollars. You went to make a big sale, boy. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is currently investigating the incident and continues to urge the public to utilize police stations as safe exchange zones for online sales to avoid such targeted ambushes. Give credit to the TTPS for making such a wonderful suggestion. They're not telling you all not to have your online businesses, but when you do have to drop off anything or collect anything, meet by a police station. It's much safer to do so for your own safety and also to ensure that they don't end up stealing everything from you. Having said that, you know, the same P&M patriots who always accusing the government of stereotyping these areas as crime hotspots, they will never acknowledge the fact that these type of crimes occur mostly in those areas. And it's only somebody who's a P&M patriot will actually take God out of their thoughts to go and conduct any sort of business transaction in Bassant, in Laventille, in Sealot, or even most areas of Diego Martin and some places in Chaguanas.
Wednesday, May 13, 2026 Trinidad and Tobago weather report. Mostly sunny to hazy and breezy conditions with occasional partly cloudy periods and isolated showers. The night is expected to be fair but hazy with a light breeze. Mild to moderate concentrations of Saharan dust are in the atmosphere, so please take necessary precautions if you are sensitive to air quality. High temperatures will range from 31 degrees Celsius to 33 degrees Celsius with a heat index reaching 35 degrees Celsius. Low temperatures will be near 25 degrees Celsius. Winds will blow from the east to east-southeast at 5 to 40 kilometers per hour with stronger gusts near showers. Humidity levels will range from 60% to 90%. Sunrise is at 5:40 a.m. and sunset is at 6:18 p.m. Seas are moderate in open waters with wave heights from 1.5 meters to 2.5 meters. Sheltered areas will see wave heights around 1.5 meters. Spring tides are in effect, which may cause higher than normal high tides and lower than normal low tides.
Regional news now. The Ministry of Health has expanded medical access in Guyana's remote regions by deploying a new fleet of vehicles to navigate the country's rugged hinterland. During a handover ceremony on May 11, 2026, Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, distributed 13 all-terrain vehicles, 7 motorcycles, and 4 utility vehicles to regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. This strategic investment is designed to eliminate transportation barriers, allowing medical teams to conduct more frequent outreach clinics and provide faster emergency responses for isolated communities under the Irfan Ali administration, serving everyone, no matter where you are in Guyana and who you are, or even what political party you support. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has announced the creation of a national fertility and family support strategy to address Jamaica's steadily declining birth rate. And that issue taking place in America too, because of the leftist type of cult here. Anyhow, speaking during his sectoral presentation to Parliament, Dr. Tufton detailed plans to establish a multi-stakeholder task force aimed at fostering national dialogue on reproductive health and responsible parenting. The initiative seeks to balance demographic growth with sustainable social support, ensuring that future population trends align with countries' long-term economic and developmental goals. Now, the thing about it is, quickly, it's wonderful how women especially are waiting until a later age in order to begin childbearing. Wonderful. But you need to balance it too. If you do intend to have kids, make sure that it's most likely in either your late 20s or early 20s. Don't wait until you're in your 40s, people. By then, it's basically a lot of complications could arise and so forth. And then you wanted kids to grow up knowing you when you're still relatively young. That's just some advice outside there, because when you're seeing a lot of the times these posts online, all these celebrities having kids all in their 40s and stuff like that, that isn't really practical. It isn't even really sensible to do. Even for your own bodies, at 40, a lot of changes in your bodies begin to occur. That's not the time to be having kids. I mean, if you end up having a kid at that age, fine, you know. But what I'm saying is the better thing, you don't want teenage pregnancies. You don't want even early 20s pregnancies either. Because at that point in time in your life, you want to be either studying or now entering a relationship, a serious relationship, and getting to know that person and so forth. And accomplishing your goals in your life, getting a house and so forth, a vehicle. But you see the 40 years thing for having kids? Nah, man. And that's probably what a lot of the times, because of this modern way of thinking, a lot of the times that's what's probably even occurring in Jamaica. And by that time, as I told you, complications do arise. And you may want to have a kid by then, and you may not be able to do so. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has launched community consultations for the proposed development of Tobago Bay, a key initiative under the Unleashing the Blue Economy of the Caribbean project. Organized by the Project Implementation Unit in collaboration with multiple ministries, these sessions aim to gather local input on infrastructure plans for the fisheries and tourism sectors. Remember, the smaller islands depend on tourism to generate a whole lot of revenue. That's why they should be embracing America instead of turning against it. Because it's the Americans and their US dollars is what will be able to generate a whole lot more revenue in your country. Don't turn against them. Embrace them. By engaging residents directly, the World Bank-funded project seeks to ensure that revitalization of the bay supports sustainable livelihoods and climate resilience while aligning with the broader national strategy to optimize marine and coastal resources. Deputy Prime Minister Cynthia Bradshaw has confirmed that technical work is underway to repair the failing ice machines at the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex in Barbados. The persistent equipment issues have forced local fishers to seek ice from alternative sources, including neighboring islands. Not just in Barbados, the islands they had to go to find ice, but wow, to prevent their catch from spoiling. While the ministry fast-tracks these immediate repairs, officials are also conducting a comprehensive study to modernize the facility's central cooling infrastructure and improve long-term reliability for the sector. These things do happen, people. And even though Mia Motley is a globalist and a socialist and whatsoever, she's doing a pretty good job in Barbados. And therefore, if you're from Barbados and you have a problem with Mia Motley, comment and let me know. But the way y'all always overwhelmingly vote for her, she has to be doing something good.
Right. So we're here at the Bridgetown facility in order to have a look at some of the challenges that the workshop is having in relation to the ice machines. As I think the public is well aware, a lot of the equipment here is dated. Techs have been made over the last few years, and in particular the last few months, to be able to upgrade one of the compressors. Unfortunately, the compressor was working along with some of the older equipment that is in the facility. As they went into start to work the machine, what would have happened is that the older parts have now obviously created some challenges in terms of being able to have that machine actually fully functional. So that machine is constantly now being repaired by the maintenance team that we have the contract with. The other compressor, which is over 30 years, the team here at the workshop would have identified that there were some noises that they were hearing. They would have responded to those noises by having to take off some of the various parts. They have been working to be able to do that, and you can see in the amount of oil that has been coming out of the arcade equipment. The fact that these machines have been allowed, in a sense, to got into his position is quite unfortunate. I think it is clear to me that what we need to do is to be able to upgrade the recent compressors so that you have a better ice machine, but we also need to do some other upgrades overall to the entire facility. In the interim, to address the issues that the fisher folk are having, it is our intention to have the Wolverine company, which also supplies ice to the fishermen, to have them basically provide ice from this afternoon for the fisher folk. They can go to the location, they purchase the ice, and the ministry will do the rebates for them as we have done in the past. We are also supplying ice from the Eiffel market as well to be able to ensure that the ice capacity is brought back up to the normal levels here. But I think it was necessary to be able to explain not just the fishery folk, but also to the general public the challenges that they are having here at the ice facility, and also to assure them and the general public that certainly the ministry and the fisheries division is doing all that it can to be able to restore some level of normalcy to this particular situation. I don't think we can continue to ignore the fact that the equipment here at this facility needs upgrading. And the truth is that across the markets, certainly in the last few weeks, what we've been looking at is upgrades to the overall markets. We started the process, but there's still a lot more work that has to be done. And tomorrow we would have had already a scheduled meeting with the stakeholders, which I'm certainly looking forward to be able to hear from them directly some of their concerns. And I've heard generally from the other agencies in terms of what their concerns are with the markets, but we get tomorrow to hear from a wide cross section of the persons who are actually within the industry that it directly impacts on them, and hopefully can come up together with the necessary solutions to be able to address this. So ice is a fundamental part of what fishermen need in order to operate, and I want to give the assurance that we are doing everything to be able to address this situation in the short term, but we are also going to take the long-term measures for once and for all to be able to address this crop.
The Free National Movement Long Island candidate Dr. Andre Rollins was involved in a heated exchange with Rowdy Boys construction owner Bernard Knowles over what Rollins alleges is a $22 million no-bid contract for roadworks on the island. If that is true, that is real corruption they're talking about there in Bahamas. Dr. Rollins criticized the state of ongoing roadworks, saying excavations remain incomplete and are causing damage to residents' vehicles, questioning why the project has not been finished. That's a valid question, people. Valid question. I mean, once again, I don't know which political party in Bahamas leans on the PNM side. Elections was yesterday. So most likely I'll be able to get the results sometime during today when I go online. Therefore, I should be able to report about it tomorrow, God's willing.
I want you to turn the camera. I want this contractor who's responsible for all these roads that are dug up in Long Island. I want you to pave the roads as quickly as you can, Mr. Knowles. Because people's vehicles are being badly damaged. And it is time. No, sir. You blame the lack of paving of these roads on the war in Iraq. And since you stopped, I really want you, sir. I really want you to fix the road. That's what you've been paying $22 million to do, and you need to fix it. It started in September. Please, it's now May. You should have been finished this job by now. Please, let's make it happen, sir. Let's put pressure on Mr. Knowles, because he is here agitating to see to it that the PLP retains government so that he can retain the contracts that he has that he is not performing on. Okay? If you get a $22 million no-bid contract, certainly you can do that job expertly to justify the fact that no other competitive bids were allowed. Yet he is here enjoying a no-bid contract, and the people of Long Island are frustrated because their cars are constantly being beaten up. Some of them are now not roadworthy. It's not about excuses. If he wants to play politics with me, I'm fully prepared to play politics. They don't want to play
International news now. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer insisted on Tuesday that he will not resign despite a growing wave of dissent within the Labour Party following the devastating local election results. Although 4 junior ministers stepped down in protest and dozens of backbenchers have called for his departure, Starmer told his cabinet that he intends to honor his 5-year mandate to prevent the country from plunging into chaos. Yeah, no, it's all about pride. And it's all about how you socialists think. You see what the Conservatives did? They resigned and stuff like that from their party when they started to get pressure, especially from their own party. But no, the radical leftists and jihadists don't ever do that. Tyrants don't ever do that. Don't tell me nothing about plunging into chaos. You causing England to plunge into chaos. You're making the whole of England become a jihadist state. While senior allies continue to defend his leadership, political analysts suggest his position remains precarious as internal pressure builds for a formal leadership challenge by the autumn later this year. I hope that socialist jihadist is removed. I hope it ends up resulting in it ends up reaching where there's an early election in England and Great Britain, and therefore people could end up making a wise choice. People, I hope the British citizens have learned their lesson. Yes, the Conservatives made mistakes during the C19 era. The Conservative Party made errors. But you don't ever go and vote for a leftist party, socialist party, even when your Conservative Party has made mistakes. Just like the Republicans right now making some errors. You don't go and vote for the Democrats because of that, because you will end up putting your country in complete and utter madness, nonsense, chaos. President Donald Trump reaffirmed his hardline stance against Iran's nuclear program on Tuesday, vowing that the nation will never obtain a nuclear weapon as he departed for a state visit to China. Before boarding Air Force One, Trump signaled his intent to finish the job. I hope he does. And I talk about militarily. If diplomatic efforts fail, when it already failed, Trump, how much time they will tell you no. Warning that the U.S. remains prepared to resume military action. That is what you're going to need to do if you want to really finish the job. During the upcoming summit in Beijing, the president is expected to pressure President Xi Jinping to use China's economic influence to force Tehran into a permanent nuclear agreement. That ain't gonna happen. You can't force Xi, neither Putin, to stop supporting terrorists. Despite a fragile ceasefire currently in place, the administration's rhetoric suggests a return to maximum pressure if negotiations do not yield immediate results. Because right now, China, telling you, not even behind people's backs, you know, they're actually doing it boldly. They are still finding ways to do trade with the Iranian terrorist regime in Iran.
Bible quote of the day. 1 John 4:3-5. But every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming and even now is already in the world. You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. They are from the world and therefore speak from the viewpoint of the world, and the world listens to them.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Yes, I made an error at the beginning when I said headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe, most of all, in Jesus' name.